Thank you there, Mr. Fortier, for your news. Thanks for staying in. You have the bonus hour on Talk of the Town, and now we'll throw to the talented and charming Mr. Kevin Bielmeyer.
Oh, you're talking about me. Okay, this is Kevin Bielmeyer. Welcome to the Southbury Radio Hour. As Tom said, it is the bonus hour here at WATR. We are glad you're tuned in. This is actually our fourth week. We have been running this the whole month of June. Our last three shows are going to be posted. The link to the recordings of the last three shows are posted at www.southbury-ct.org/radio hour. So if you want to check out the previous programs or you want to replay today's program, you go to that website and check it out. Today, I'm very excited to have in the studio for our fourth Southbury Radio Hour two wonderful entrepreneurs who have joined me. We have Michael Ferreira of Southbury.com. and Terry Murphy of HealingChickadee.com. And let me just start by just saying hello. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Terry.
Hi, I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
It's great having you both here. So we're going to just dive right in. Michael, let me start with you. Tell us a little about what Southbury.com is and why you started it.
Yeah, would love to. So Southbury.com is a destination website for the town of Southbury. We help people find things to do, where to shop, where to eat. And on the flip side of that, we help local businesses get found by these same people coming for these other things. I'm very lucky to be here with...
Turn your headphone down a little bit, please, Michael.
Turning it
Just
down.
turn them down a touch because you're getting some whistle there. Sorry about that.
I'm a whistler.
That was actually him whistling. He's a wonderful competitive whistler.
And I'm actually really excited to be here, not only with Kevin and Tom, but also with Terry, who happens to be one of the customers from our nonprofit sector in Southbury. Southbury's full of nonprofits that do a lot of great things, and it's always a joy to blend that business aspect of things with, doing something helpful around town.
Yeah, it's wonderful that Southbury.com is really all things Southbury. So it's for the business community, but it's beyond that, including the nonprofit community. And I'm going to throw it to you, Terry. Tell us a little bit about HealingChickadee.com, but also about yourself and how you came to this journey. And then we do have a caller on the line that we'll jump to right in a moment.
Okay. Hi, my name's Terry, and I'm really happy to be here with both of you because both of you have been very supportive of the nonprofit. It's Soulful Sydney, and it started as a social emotional for children, and what we're finding is that children have lost kind of connection, and that connection is so important. So as I got older, and there's not a lot of great things about getting older. I mean, my skin doesn't fit anymore, stuff like that. But one of the great things is you get to share your experience, strength, and hope. And when I was 10 years old, my brother died. He was 16, and it was our whole family. It was way back in 1971, and we all we didn't communicate, and therefore we didn't connect. So I wanted to create something where children that have lost a loved one would have a program, and as God would have it, people like you show up. David Friedman is a Disney composer and Broadway conductor. My friend Christina Connor showed up. So we created the Healing Chickadee, a grief program for children. And we have sent out about 1,000 birds, these cute little birds, and we've got an online program with music and videos and activities for kids. And it sort of, it took on a life of its own. And that's what happens sometimes when you keep your heart and your mind open. And it's really a way for families to connect at that very important time.
Wow, that's fabulous. I feel like I've done nothing with my life in just 5 seconds here. Before we go a little further, we have a caller on the line. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, it's Kara Kenny from the RPM agency, and I wanted to say thank you to all of you, especially for all of your help on the 350th birthday celebration of Southbury.
Well, thank you very much, Kara Kenny. Kara Kenny, of course, we know Kara very well. Her father was the first selectman of the town of Southbury, and also at that time it was the 300th anniversary of Southbury, the tercentennial. And so Kara has graciously donated her time and energy and expertise with her background with the RPM agency to the 350th anniversary celebration that we have going on all year long.
Yep, it's a great place to live now, but it was a wonderful place to grow up. Lots of great memories made there, and it's grown significantly. And thanks to the efforts of you and people like Michael and Danielle with the Southbury Neighbors magazine, it continues to grow and blossom. So we hope that everybody goes to the website to take a look at the schedule of upcoming events for the rest of the year. I know Michael's going to be doing his part in putting that forward. So,
absolutely, yeah. That's that's the town website, www.southbury-ct.org/350 for everything going on for the 350th celebration. Well, thanks for calling in, Kara. It's always a pleasure.
You are so welcome. Keep up the good work, guys.
Bye,
Thanks.
Kara.
So before we get too far into each program, let me talk about collaboration because, Michael, I know you are helping out Terry with her project with Southbury.com. So talk a little bit about how the collaboration began and what that has manifested into.
Yeah, I think as I was going around town and we were building awareness of Southbury.com and the kinds of things that we were capable of doing in terms of helping local businesses garner attention and, get noticed by the general public. I'm not quite sure, or I don't remember how our paths crossed. Terry, you might have a better inkling of that, but our paths crossed, and there was an opportunity for Terry and I to work together. She was gracious enough to come on board, and ever since then we've done our best to help try and promote the Healing Chickadee and Soulful Sydney, and I think it's been a great collaboration to date.
You have been you're really extraordinarily talented at taking the content from the website Healing Chickadee and what it is that we're trying to do, and you put it in such a way that it was visually appealing, and it was also very clear, our purpose and our mission and what we were trying to do. So I'm very grateful, and I have to tell you, I've only been in Southbury 8 years. I live at Heritage Village, and the most extraordinary people, the lady at the cottage. I think you and I met at the cottage. We were doing something, and I started laughing, and I thought, my gosh, I like you. And the first time I met Kevin Bielmeyer, Kevin, everything you touch turns to gold. No, and this is why when I said to you, can you help me with fundraising? Because one of the things I've learned, and this is, it was scary to start a nonprofit. I'm actually in the medical field. I'm a nuclear medicine technologist, and so this was really outside my wheelhouse. But when you keep your heart and your mind open and you ask good questions, people show up. So we've started this nonprofit, and it's allowed us to do a lot of different things with a thing called the Soulful Forest, and then you guys jumped in, and Kevin, I'm going to take you up on events for fundraising, because that's one of the things I've had to learn about a nonprofit too. You have to wear 14 different hats. You've got the creative part, and you'd have to keep everybody's, all of these things in mind, and pay the taxes too.
Yeah, running a nonprofit, starting a nonprofit is not for the faint of heart, that is for sure. In fact, that's what we're talking about today, really, in both in the nonprofit sector and the private sector, is entrepreneurism, because both of you are entrepreneurs. That's why I like to call this episode A Tale of Two Entrepreneurs. If you have any questions for myself or for our two entrepreneurs here, be sure to call into the station at 203-757-1320, 203-757-1320. Happy to take calls.
I'm Tom Hill. This is your bonus hour on Talk of the Town. And now, Mr. Kevin Bielmeyer.
Thank you very much, Tom. We're here with Terry Murphy and Michael Ferreira, two entrepreneurs in Southbury that I've had the pleasure of meeting and getting to know, and hopefully being a cheerleader for both of them. Entrepreneurism is always something near and dear to my heart. I think it's amazing that people take the risks that they take to start something. A lot of times when I talk to folks who are doing it for the first time, I'll say, would you have done this if you knew how difficult it would be? And sometimes the answer is no. And maybe that's sometimes blind faith, and just jumping in is the best thing about it. But I don't think that would be the case for either of you, because you guys are both doing so well with what you're doing. Michael, let me go back to you with Southbury.com. When you decided, talk about the journey of where you were and the connective, the decision to launch this, and what was going through your mind to take that leap. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I spent most of my adult professional life in the corporate world, working for some large companies, Fujifilm within their medical device division, one of the largest trade show organizations in the country. They put on Comic-Con and a lot of other really interesting events. And then finally within the financial industry. During the pandemic, I had an opportunity to kind of step out of the corporate world and do my own thing. And I told my wife I had this crazy idea that I wanted to kind of marry my love of the web and a what's called a geodomain, similar to Southbury.com, and marry those two things and create some good out of it. And I think the first words out of her mouth were, "You want to do what during a pandemic?" And she still reminds me of it every day. No, I'm only kidding. She's my biggest cheerleader, and she's been my rock throughout this whole process. I got to tell you, would I have changed anything? I don't think you really know what you're getting into when you first start off, right? I was never crazy about doing sales. I was always a digital marketer, if you will. Now I'm an accountant. I'm the chief dishwasher. I'm the cook. There's so many hats that you wind up wearing as an entrepreneur. It certainly makes it exciting. I hear people sometimes. It's really two things, right? So, as an entrepreneur, you do quite a bit, right? You wear all these different hats. People sometimes, when the weekend's coming, they're like, "Yay, the weekend's coming." I'm like, "Oh no, the week's almost over." And then when it's Sunday night, they're like, "Oh, tomorrow's Monday." I'm like, "I can't wait for Monday," right? So I'm like super excited about it. I work twice as hard as I used to in the corporate world, but I don't think there's anything else I'd rather be doing at this moment.
That's fantastic. And obviously the proof is in the pudding and we'll get to this a little bit later, because you're going to become a serial entrepreneur or serialpreneur, I think it's called, because you're starting another venture. So We'll get to that in a moment. I'm going to throw it to you, Terry. So you've done different careers. You mentioned that you work in the medical profession, and you definitely have relayed sort of the source behind the impetus to start the effort that you're doing. But when it comes to sort of, again, taking that leap, you've sort of touched on it about, the unknown and all the things that you don't anticipate you're going to have to be involved with. But I would suspect that you wouldn't have it any other way. You wouldn't turn back the clock and not do it. But what are some of the things you're learning along the way?
It is fun and it is scary. My husband refers to this as the most expensive menopause project he's ever seen, because one of the things as a nonprofit, you don't make any money. So you have to have your heart and soul into it. And I do. And I get to pull a whole bunch of talented people together. Can I take 2 seconds to tell you about how this came together?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I have a friend named Christina Connors. She's tall, thin, blonde, beautiful, young, and she's a really talented singer, but I like her anyway. So we ended up creating something. We both have a heart for children. So we created the Soulful Forest. And the Soulful Forest is kind of a metaphor for our own internal spiritual journey. And we think that kids right now, they're really attached to screens, and they're very disconnected from that quiet part of them. So this soulful forest, the only way to get in is through the garden of gratitude, because we know all good things start in gratitude.
Absolutely.
Sometimes kids have to go up to the top of Mindful Mountain, where they learn to appreciate here and now. Sometimes life puts you on the river of resilience, where you learn to navigate grief and loss and fear. But you always end up down at the reflecting pond, where you can see your image and see what you've learned along the way. Lots of us have to spend time at the tranquil tree. Underneath the tranquil tree is where children learn to get space between how they feel and what they choose to do and say. Some adults need to be there as well, some politicians perhaps. There's also the field of forgiveness. In the field of forgiveness, we learn to laugh, L-A-F, love, accept, and forgive. Ourselves first, so that we can love, accept, and forgive others. If we did it right, the whole world would be laughing together. Diversity University is where we learn to celebrate the differences between us. Camp Kindness is where we learn civility, because one of the things I think kids don't have an example of anymore is civility. So we learn to teach them through that. And then what we want to stay away from is Camp Chaos at Belly Acres Farm, where everyone is constantly alarmed. There's lots of screens, and there's lots of vying for kids' attention, where they don't have that ability to just go outside, look at birds. I think we've kind of lost that. So this is our project, and she has put her voice to it, and David Friedman has put music to it, and very generously given that to Soulful Sydney and the Healing Chickadee. And we've got some more projects coming up based on this one idea of the Soulful Forest. And it's been a lot of fun. I wake up at night thinking about this. My husband says, we could be doing fun things. I go, yeah, we could, but I'm going to be doing this instead.
So much more gratifying.
Yeah,
So,
he plays golf a lot, and who can blame him, really?
absolutely, and he's obviously here to support you today.
Yeah, he
so
is.
we know that he's here. So to see the Soulful Forest, because I know you have a visualization. You've just painted a beautiful word picture for us over the radio in such a lovely way. But people can actually see it with their own eyes by going where?
To healingchickadee.com.
And you can see the Soulful Forest. So check that out. Now, talking about Southbury.com, when Michael first approached me and said, he was coming to town and to do this, I have to say, right out of the gate, I was like, hallelujah, because one of the things that people that aren't in the economic development profession maybe don't know is that oftentimes, an economic development department or commission, or et cetera, in a town or a city will spend enormous amounts of money to create a separate website to promote their town or city, separate from the town website, which is the informational part. And there's good reason for that. You have to make it as attractive and appealing as you can. And oftentimes government sites are more informational and they're not designed around that. So all of a sudden, this fella comes up to me and I want to create this Southbury.com to do just that. And I just thought, this is the best thing I've heard all day. How can I support this and cheer you on and say yes, rah rah, go go, because it's been nothing but a wonderful thing for the town and a partnership for me to work with you and to bounce ideas off of you. I mean, he is out there. Michael is out there in the business community of Southbury. I will honestly say more than I am. He puts boots to the ground. You probably worn through how many sneakers getting around this town. Meeting all the businesses. They all know him by name. He's been in every single one and just does an amazing job promoting the businesses community and the nonprofit community.
Wow, Kevin, thank you. I feel like I owe you some money for having said all that.
Just lunch.
I thought that was illegal. But I'm gonna flip it back on you, right? So when I started Southbury.com, I didn't really know anyone within government, at least locally. Didn't know a lot of businesses, and a lot of those businesses I learned by just going in, like you were saying, boots to ground, and just going in and talking to them. But from a town hall perspective, you've been my. You and I had a conversation on the phone, and I was trying to say something along the lines of "You're my Batman to my Robin." I'm not sure where we ended up with that.
Wait, who's Batman? Who's Robin? Right.
Right. Well, I don't really care whoever you want to be, but no, I'm Batman. Look, you've been probably the single greatest rock that I have within the town of Southbury, and I couldn't thank you enough for it.
Well, it's been a great partnership, and I'm so glad you're here. And then, like I said, we're going to get to what you're doing next. Terry, I wanted to share with everybody. First time I met Terry, she sends me, and this has only happened with her, so it just kind of gives you an idea of the uniqueness of what is Terry Murphy. She's just an incredible source of energy and activism and creativity. So she sends me an email with a link to a YouTube video, and I get this email and I click on it, and she was basically communicating to me through a video on YouTube directly to me that she made. So she's the only person I've ever known to do this. She just records herself and then puts it up on YouTube and then sends you the message. So some people get emails, some people get phone calls, but no, Terry sends you YouTube videos, and how wonderful is that?
Love it.
I want to remind everybody you can call in at 203-757-1320 to talk to either of our two entrepreneurs. And again, you're listening to the Southbury Radio Hour, bonus hour here at WATR. We're thankful to Tom Hill III for having us in the studio, and to Tom Shute, who always has done a wonderful job with WATR. 37 years in radio here, but Tom has the big 5-0 this year.
A lot of times.
A lot of times. We have it's a tale of two Toms here as well as a tale.
And tell us about you, though, Kevin, and why you came to WATR, and re-intro your guest as well, because we're halfway through the hour.
Sure. I'm Kevin Bielmeyer, the Economic Development Director for the town of Southbury. I came into WATR through the Chamber Hour with Lynn Ward, and she had me on a few times. Wonderful as to be a guest of the Chamber Hour. And that introduced me to everything going on here at WATR, and that created the idea of, hey, why don't we do the Southbury Radio Hour? So joining me in the studio with Michael Ferreira of www.southbury.com, founder and owner of that, and Terry Murphy of the nonprofit Healing Chickadee at healingchickadee.com. So they've graciously just been my guests today, and we had a wonderful 3 programs earlier in the month, which are now going to be posted up on our website, the town website, www.southbury-ct.org/radio hour.
I just want to thank you and compliment you. You brought some real heavy hitters the last 3 weeks. Just run down through who they are, including my dentist.
Yeah, so we kicked off the Southbury Radio Hour at the beginning of the month with your dentist and many others. Jack Cesara from Southbury, of course. He's got a wonderful practice there that serves many. Jack is a wonderful servant of the community as well. He serves on the EDC with me, and he also serves on the Southbury Chamber board as well as Michael Ferreira does, and myself. So we're all there, and he's a fabulous dentist and cosmetic dentist. Joining him that first hour was our first selectman, Jeffrey Manville. He graciously joined us for the kickoff, the inaugural Southbury Radio Hour. Our second week we had Vince Capoletti, who has tripled down as a restaurant owner in town in Southbury with Mission Salad, Lucas Local, and now Monty's downtown, which had just opened. And last week we had Stevie Sacco, owner of the new restaurant and cocktail establishment, the Bevy Company. And she came in last week and did a great job.
That was one heavy-duty, down-to-earth interview with what was going on in her mind and every way to Friday. That was cool.
She really brought it, absolutely. She told all about the restaurant industry and her trajectory getting there, and it was a pretty impressive
I'd like
show.
to thank her broker, Mary Buckley from Godin Properties, who helped us with getting that lease there. So appreciate collaboration with other brokers. Back to you, Mr. KB2.
Yeah, and now do we need to take a break, Tom, or are we
we're
good?
set.
All
Roll,
right.
baby.
We're great. All right, we're sitting here talking about Southbury. We're talking about entrepreneurism, and Terry, I want to just throw it back to you for a moment. And you mentioned Soulful Sydney, and clarify just for me a tad on the difference and the combinedness between Soulful Sydney and healingchickadee.com, and then also touch on your book, and also what I know you have a few other things you want to talk about, the COA and Smart Incorporated.
I just want to go back to one thing that you were talking about regarding me sending you a video. I just want to clarify. I'm the youngest in my family. I'm desperate for attention, so I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And it's come in really handy, as a nonprofit, because I'm willing to climb over hills and mountains and do whatever it is that I have to do. What was the question? Soulful Sydney. I have a whole bunch of grandkids. The best thing in my whole life. I love my kids, but actually I like my grandkids more, and I told my kids that. I said, compared to how I feel about these people that you've birthed, I don't even like you. So they go to therapy. Anyway, so I had little Sydney sitting there one day, and I was watching the news, and she was like 18 months old. She's sitting at the window, and it was rainy. And I said, Sydney, I wish we had a more soulful world for you to live in. And Christina and I had been working on the Soulful Forest, and all of a sudden, bells went off. It was like Soulful Sydney, Soulful Forest, Soulful. So
alliteration.
Yes, exactly. So had her name been Gertrude, I don't know what we would have done, but I wouldn't have had that moment. I decided to start this nonprofit, and then people came out of the woodwork to help me. One of my best friends is a retired attorney, and she said, I can help you. And I made her president because she was late to the meeting, so she got elected president. And then other people just kind of climb on board. It's a wonderful thing. So it became Soulful Sydney is the name of that, but we've got several projects under that. And the first project that was under that is the book called Soulful Sydney Explores Diversity. And I really felt that we weren't being nice to people that either had different faiths than us, had different skin colors than us, and I felt it was really important to do something that was a message of kindness, inclusion, equity, and justice. So we did that with a sweet little girl from the Newtown Mosque. She and I and my sister collaborated on this book, and I have to tell you, 2 old Christian women, 2 old Catholics, and a little Muslim girl. She's extraordinarily talented. Her mother taught me a lot about you don't know what you don't know. So I
Right.
really got a schooling in that, and that's one of the beautiful things when you stay open is you learn. And then from there, we started the Healing Chickadee, and I did that because of my own history with, that loss of connection in my family.
Right.
And we've got another project coming up, and these things are coming at me from this one idea of the soulful forest. It's very exciting.
Taking action on an idea, I think that speaks volumes. It's like if you wait till everything is perfect, then you never really move. You never really, and this is equated to business as well. Years ago, I worked for the Ethan Allen Corporation, and one of the many things I learned there from Farouk Rathwari, the CEO of Ethan Allen. He used to always say to his to his board and to his organization, he's like, when we're about 70% ready or feel ready, he goes, we're going to go. We're going to move forward, whether it's a new line of furniture, whatever it may be. He says, if you wait until you're 100% certain, he's like, you've missed the moment, you've missed the mark, and you maybe never get to 100% certain. So once you're about 75% sure that, I think we're onto something, this is the way to go, just go forward, just start.
And what we all have in common here is that we're not afraid to make a mistake.
That's so important.
Both of you guys, one of the things I really admire about both of you, I can see it in your eyes, and that's why I liked you from the first minute I met you, is that you follow your heart and your passion, and you want the best for all people. Like you go out there and you want the best for all people. So we're not afraid to fail. And my brother, he's a very successful business. You should probably interview him. But he said to me, he goes, Terry, when I think of you, I think of fire, ready, aim. He goes, because that's how you run your life. And he's kind of right. And I look back on some of the things, I could have done that better, I could have done that better. But, moving forward, we do better. And if you can help people along the way, like so far, we've sent out almost 1,000 healing chickadees throughout the country to different grief organizations. So, we're doing something right in the middle of doing something wrong. We just have to have the courage to move forward.
I like that, fire, ready, aim.
Yeah, that's. I would have been offended if it weren't so accurate.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, one of the biggest obstacles I had going into this was my perfectionism. And knowing that, at least traditionally in the past, right, you never let anything out the door until it was proofread by 20 people and it was right. That's not the case in entrepreneurship. You're never going to be perfect with things. You just got to get it out there, tweak the message, tweak the product as you move along. Even today, look, there are things on Southbury.com I'd love to tweak. I may never get to them. They might not be perfect, but they're out there and they're being used, and people are taking advantage of that.
That's a great message, actually, that perfectionism side. Back when I was doing entertainment and we would perfect a show that we were doing, we'd perfect the song and the choreography and the whole bit. And we were working on cruise ships back then. And we had everything honed. It was like as perfect as we could make it, right? And so when I transitioned out of that into cruise directing work, one of the first things I learned was just that, like, with a 7-day operation going 24/7 around the clock, things were thrown at you all the time, and there was no way to worry about things being perfect. You had to just get it going, get it done, and just get out there. And that taught me so much more, about thinking on your feet. Just like I said, plunging forward. Anybody that works in journalism knows this. I mean, the newspaper's got to be out there. Anybody in radio, right? You just got to go, and you can't wait for everything to be perfect. And thank goodness people learn that. You don't have any choice. You're just thrown in the fire. But it is the best thing that can happen, because a lot of folks, I think, don't actually do some of the things they'd like to do because they're just waiting for that perfect moment or to be ready, and then the moment passes them by.
Absolutely.
So we're talking here with Terry Murphy and Michael Ferreira, A Tale of Two Entrepreneurs on the Southbury Radio Hour, and talking about taking another leap and stepping forward. Michael, tell us about your next venture, and what I'm referring to is your next .com adventure. We'll get to the other thing as well.
Got it. Yeah, so Southbury for us was never going to be the end-all, be-all for us. Just from a physical, geographical, population perspective, Southbury's not that big, right? Population of about 20K. And then you throw in the amount of businesses that are there. Look, it was just never going to be enough to make a living, if you will. The idea was always to use Southbury.com as a proving model. Not that we're going to give up on Southbury. We're going to keep going forward, going to keep reinventing, keep doing things that are of value to the community and to the, at large, and to the business community. but it was always a proving model. Can this be done? I've heard of it being done in the past with other companies and people that I know in the industry. And Southbury to date has been, at least by my standard, mildly successful. And the thought process was always, okay, we're going to take the same model and we're going to replicate that elsewhere. I had an opportunity now to, we picked up Litchfield.co being a very obscure abbreviation for county.
Yep.
So it really fit into with what we were doing. No one town in Litchfield County is, I think, that large, but you put them all together and you have quite an area that I think is going to make for a really prosperous adventure in that county. So we're pretty excited about that. I think I've already made contacts with some of the folks that you knew, Kevin, up in that area from your previous life. And I'm really looking forward to building that out and also continue working with you on Southbury.
Absolutely. Litchfield.co. It's an exciting proposition. I know, Tom, I heard you earlier on the radio talking about some of the events you're going to up in Litchfield County, and you mentioned, Bill Buckby and others. You were talking about a political event.
That's June 30th at the Fife and Drum. It's a great political event, but it's a lot of people could learn civics by going to some of these. It's only $30.
Absolutely, and check that out. And so that used to be my stomping ground. I lived in New Milford for 18 years. I was the economic development director of New Milford. So quite a bit of folks in the Litchfield County I know, and a lot of my cohorts in doing what I do in those individual towns. So I was happy to connect them with Michael, and I know that's going to bear great fruit for them as well as for Litchfield.co. But right here in Southbury, you've got something coming up. We're almost about to embark in the second round of
Southbury Restaurant Week.
Oh, yay.
So we're looking. We did our first restaurant week back in February, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
That was a huge success. Thanks to you, Kevin. We incorporated that as part of the 350th celebration of Southbury. Now we're going to do a Southbury Restaurant Week Fall edition. Fall, late summer, early fall. Most likely at this point, we're looking to launch that in September. I've already gotten buy-in from most of the restaurant owners, and they're all really excited. Obviously, for them, it's a great time because during the summer, people are, they're very busy. People are, vacationing either, coming through or they do well in the summer hours. They start to get a little slower when people are back from vacation, ironically, and their kids are back in school because they're kind of hunkering down now a little bit. They've gone out and about throughout the whole summer.
Somebody that knows restaurants real well, because he eats at many of them, is on the line right now, actually. Caller, you're on the air.
Hello, Michael. Is that you on the air?
It is. Who's this?
Hi, this is Jack Cesaro calling in.
Hey, Jack.
Hey, I just wanted to thank you for all you've done for me and supporting my business in town, and not only in town, but the surrounding towns. I hope that everybody listening checks in on Southbury.com regularly to see what's going on in town and to see what some of the best businesses in town can offer.
Thanks, Jack. That's really kind of you to say that. You've been an absolute pleasure to work with from the get-go, and I couldn't have connected with a better human being and business owner in the town of Southbury, so thank you for that.
Oh, that's very kind. Very kind. And, Kevin, it sounds like this news hour is quite a success.
It's been a lot of fun, Jack. I appreciated you helping us kick it off at the beginning of the month, and hopefully we'll do this again real soon. Pick this back up maybe in the fall with the Southbury Radio Hour. That's what we're hoping for.
That's great. I have my quick story to share also is with the Southbury Business Association, which of course now is the Southbury Chamber. Michael came to town and I said, "Who's this guy?" Because I was just about to start revamping our whole website, and of course the EDC was about to do a whole Southbury app, and this guy Michael comes around and he can do it better than anybody.
Yeah,
so we're just so fortunate with his timing.
It really was fortunate to have him do that. So yeah, it's been great. Thanks for calling in, Jack. Appreciate it.
All right, have fun, you guys.
So we're talking about Southbury. It's the Southbury Radio Hour. That was a call in at 203-757-1320. We're still taking calls. We're going to got a few more minutes before our break. As we talk about Southbury, you want to go back to that? Probably a little bit more. Let's talk a little bit more about the upcoming Southbury Restaurant
So
Week.
just really quickly on that, because I know Terry has a lot of interesting stories, and I just absolutely love listening to her talk. With this Southbury Restaurant Week, one of the things that we didn't do last time that we're thinking of doing this week is actually, instead of a Southbury Restaurant Week, we might make that a plural. And the idea is that we're still bouncing around is Southbury a Restaurant Week is great for those facilities or those restaurants that actually have a dine-in type of facility.
Ideally,
right. And us in our need, or not our need, but what I wanted to do with Restaurant Week was to make it all inclusive with all of the eateries, if you will, even if they only serve, juices or fruit drinks, or you're a
protein
pizza,
shakes, or
right, or if you're a pizza place, right? A lot of oftentimes it's takeout. So what we're thinking of, and this isn't set in stone yet, but is week 1 is going to be a dine-in, and then a week 2 is going to be a takeout. And obviously there are establishments that can most likely take advantage of both of those scenarios.
Sure.
But there are some that are going to fall better into one category than the other. So that's what we're planning at the moment.
What might be the future dates of these Southbury Restaurant Weeks?
Oh, wow. Good question. Mid-September.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You can't hold my feet to the fire on
All
that.
right.
a late summer, early fall.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm depressed. How many times can I join Weight Watchers? I don't know.
Got to hike every day.
Oprah's got a lot of my money. I've made a couple of her house payments, and I'm still, no. My husband says to me, he goes, why do we pay this every month? For you to not count points and not lose. I don't know.
Got a lot of hills in Heritage Village. You got to start hiking them.
Yeah. But I'm on the couch watching Netflix. That's part of the problem.
Well, as we're talking about Southbury, we're wrapping up our fiscal year as the town runs on a fiscal year, so it ends June 30th. We're just about there. So it was a moment to take stock of the year that has just passed. And I just wanted to share, because sometimes, your head's down, your nose is to the grindstone, and you're just moving forward, and you don't really necessarily know how far you've come in a given period. So I just wanted to share with everybody that, because I was pretty excited, if you count grand openings of new businesses and businesses celebrating anniversaries and expansions or renovations, we did ribbon cuttings for them. I opened it up. I wanted to celebrate. We celebrated 40
That's amazing.
businesses.
That's amazing.
Just in this fiscal year, since July 1st of 2022. 40. And it was amazing to just go through. And we got 2 more literally on the docket to celebrate this coming month of July. So we'll have 42. We've saw the creation of the Southbury Arts and Culture Subcommittee. It feels like they've been around forever, but that was actually created just since July. And they have been so instrumental with not only the EDC and the things that we're doing, but they've just gotten involved in everything, all different events, just lending their artistic talents. And also they've been a curator of talent. So they've reached out to every type of art in town, music, painting, drawing, you name it, and brought the community together and communicated what everyone is doing. They put out a curated monthly list of everything that's happening, and it's just, you have to have a magnifying glass, to fit it all into one page, just 1 month's activities. So they've been doing a fantastic job. Really excited about what they've been up to. We've been holding, business events, and again, it's not just the town, but it's the partnerships. It's working with people like Southbury.com. There was a restaurant week, but there was a beauty and spa week that you did. There was Small Business Saturday, which is a national event. There was Walk Main Street, and the nonprofit community continues to always drive the event calendar. Southbury Women's Club and more. They just put on so many wonderful events, and I can't imagine our community without them. It's such a vital part of it. And what would you say is in store, or even if it's just a wish for healingchickadee.com and Soulful Sydney in that arena?
We have a really, really, really great idea and I sent it to you by email. I'm not going to, it's such a great idea. I don't even want to put it out here, but I'm really excited about it because it's going to be a great fun. And Southbury is a very generous town. Every time
Yes, it is.
one of the uncomfortable things about being a nonprofit is you're always knocking on doors for money, but people, whenever I've said, we've got a grief center here, that people will donate, and it's been wonderful. So we've got a couple of fundraisers coming up, and I'm going to come back here. Tom's going to bring me back here to talk about that when that happens, because 1 in 13 children in the United States will experience the death of a parent or sibling by age 18. So that's a huge need. There's a lot of siblings left behind, and this kind of early childhood grief and loss is very difficult, and it can manifest in other ways. And not to bring the party down, but that's why this
That's
is
the
why
mission,
we
reason for the
mission. The other thing that came to us surprisingly was children of addiction. We're taking that soulful forest and we're turning it into children of addiction, because that's a huge need as well. So from 9 to 13-year-olds, we've got a program coming out in the fall, and you'll be hearing more about that.
All right, and we'll hear about that right after this break from our sponsors.
To our talented host, Kevin Bielmeyer.
Thank you very much, Tom. Hey, that's exciting. Jim Smith's coming in. Wow.
He's a heavy hitter.
Yeah, he was co-board chair of Advanced CT when I was there. Really helped launch that rebranding of that organization from CIRC to Advanced CT during his tenure. So, and of course, many other philanthropic aspects to his long, illustrious career. And that's part of what we're talking about today is philanthropy as well as entrepreneurism. So when we're talking, Terry, about sort of a wish list with Healing Chickadee and thinking about fundraising and how challenging that can be, back in my time, because I'm a cat, I've had many lives of being a fundraiser. I used to always look at it this way. I'd say to people, how would you like to feel good today, right? My job isn't really here to sort of ask you for money and have you help me. I'm really here to help you, because when you give to an organization a worthy cause, you come away feeling great, and anybody that I know who works within philanthropy of their corporate organizations, for example, like I just met with Union Savings Bank, and I was talking to their corporate giving officer, and they, said, I got the best job in the world, right? I have the best job in the world. I get to take the corporation's money and figure out who best to give it to, and all those organizations that I give it to just are so wonderful and worthy that it just makes me feel great, So that's one of the wonderful things I think about working in nonprofits, and and I encourage anybody that isn't already serving on a board that there's can be nothing more gratifying than doing that. Find a cause that you're passionate about, and not only consider opening your checkbook, but also considering giving your time to it. And as we used to board build, as they call it, in nonprofits. You look for folks who are already serving perhaps on a board, or maybe even two, because then they already have that sort of giving mentality of their time, and they understand the commitment. And usually 3 is the trifecta. You don't want to go more than that, then they just won't simply have enough time for the organization.
We're starting the Soulful Grandma Brigade, and the Soulful Grandma Brigade is asking women that are of a certain age, all of us, to join with me, because we've got some kids out there that are hurting, whether it's from grief and loss or children of addiction, and a lot of us we either have someone in our lives that we've lost, or we have our own trauma to deal with, or addiction is robbing us of lives, and so it would be very satisfying. So, and we'll also have fun. We'll probably drink a little wine, and it'll be a good time. While we're serving others.
No, that's wonderful, and offering those opportunities to people for volunteerism, is very important, and putting it out there, and people will step up, and those that do will benefit themselves from it.
And they can also go to healingchickadee.com and hit that donate button. We make it very easy.
That is always an important part of it, absolutely. And so, Michael, as you're working with Terry on her initiative, what in a concrete, just in a few moments way. Does that connective model look like? Like, what is it? Is it literally a link to the site? How does that work?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've done with Southbury.com, one of our pillars was always to really help the business community and nonprofits in general. Having said that, one of the things that we did was we gave every business, every nonprofit, or at least all the ones that we could find and list, we gave them a free listing, which is pretty benign, right? Business name, address, and phone. And then what we do with our customers is not only do they get those things, but they also get a little bit more, where they can put their website, they could put a logo, they can have an extra page, which is very similar to what Terry has at the moment, whereby it has a logo of the of her business. It has videos. It has everything that we could possibly do to try and get Terry's message out there to the broader
Michael, how do they get a hold of you?
They can reach me at michael@southbury.com.
Kevin, 15 seconds, please.
Yeah, and here we are. And Terry, how can they get a hold of? Is it best to just go to healingchickadee.com?
healingchickadee@gmail.com, and you and I are all doing the same thing. We're connecting. It is really powerful and very important. Thank you for this opportunity.
You bet. My pleasure. And you've been listening to the Southbury Radio Hour. This is your host, Kevin Bielmeyer, Economic Development Director. You can always just stop by Town Hall, or you can email me at ecodevdirector@southbury-ct.gov.
He's a handy guy. I recommend him highly. I know all these people. They've been in before. They're excellent. This is 1320 WATR in Waterbury, Connecticut, 97.7 FM, and we'll go with ABC now, and then our great new music.